Welcome, you and all, to another episode of the Global Latin Factor podcast, where we talk about Latino everything. I'm your host, Crispin Valentin. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time to checking out our channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel right now. Why? You have nothing to lose and so many amazing stories to gain, like the one from Jesse Cordova. He is a mental health advocate. Not only that, but he has an amazing story and amazing resources that he shared with us. And now to the episode. Jesse, bienvenido. Hi.
Gracias. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Again, I truly apologize for the traffic and the drive over here. I think people don't realize how bad it can get about 5-ish, 6 o'clock. So sorry about that.
No, it's all good. You know, it was worth it, and I've been wanting to jump on your podcast for a little bit. So
I know you ask every time I go over there. And then if you ever want great service from Jesse at the Kava Bar in Fort Worth, $5.
$5. Hey, shout out to the Kava Bar Fort Worth. So, yes, thank you. Come visit.
Awesome. But first, before we get started, we're going to start with a segment that I like to call Preguntas al Chile. If you have not subscribed to the channel, I don't know what you're waiting for. You have amazing content, amazing stories that could possibly influence your life, like the one with Jesse right here. ¿Estás listo? Are you ready?
I am ready.
Tacos o tortas?
Tacos.
Corn tortilla or flour tortilla?
For tacos, corn. To snack on, burritos. De harina, yes.
Homemade?
Homemade.
Okay.
It's the only way.
Gorditas or pupusas?
Gorditas.
Jarrito, what flavor?
Piña.
Piña. A piña with a torta?
A piña with a torta, yeah.
Man.
El rotajín.
Oof. Yeah. One of my favorite shots is the paleta shots at the Kava Bar. Non-alcoholic, by the way. But we learned how to make some, right?
We did,
Pretty
yeah.
good stuff over there. Agua de horchata, jamaica, or tamarindo?
Jamaica.
Agua de salsa verde. Are you team salsa verde or team salsa roja?
Salsa picante.
Salsa picante in
It
general.
doesn't matter the color.
As long as spicy.
As long as it's
that.
spicy.
Menudo or pozole?
Pozole.
Valentina, Tapatio, Tabasco, Cholula, hot sauce.
Valentina all day.
Churro or flan?
Churro.
Churro.
There's something about the consistency about flan that I just can't get on.
Well, I like flan.
Yeah.
But I have to find me a particular type of flan,
Yeah.
a vegan flan. But I didn't mind it. I liked it. But you're not the first person that said that.
Yeah.
Like
It's a texture thing.
texture thing.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I don't mind it. I just don't care. There's like
It tastes good. You eat it. Yeah.
Wise, like the texture part is more for me food wise. I don't think I have anything that just feels like weird. Is it the taste for me? Like for a long time I like zucchini squash. That's because I was traumatized when I was a kid.
Okay.
But that consistency kind of like I didn't like.
It triggers you a little bit.
Not anymore. I'm good now. I'm cured. I did a lot of work. I did was that therapy where you
EMDR.
What is that
For
called?
Trauma.
Well, you kind of sort of like do it little by little.
Oh, exposure therapy. Yeah.
I did some of that. Well, my mama did it until I got rid of it. Okay, yeah. Trágate tus calabacitos. Yes, mama. When you want to celebrate whatever accomplishments you have going on, whatever you did, you like to dance, cumbia, salsa, merengue, or some bachata.
Cumbia, salsa, and just like straight up Tejano.
I keep forgetting forward folks be liking the Tejano, and I'm not adding it in there. I need to.
Yeah, you can't sleep on the Tejano, man. I grew up on it, and that's my go-to.
Yeah, for sure. I need to put Tejano if forward folks are coming through, because I love that Tejano.
Yeah,
I think I love it more than Dallas folks.
You're doing Latin night soon, so you better throw in some Tejano in there. Yeah,
I got it. We are gonna working on it. By the way, October 18th. At the Forward Kava Bar. I think we're going to get this episode out before. If you are in the area, come through, come dance, come learn a little bit of salsa, merengue, possibly. If not, you're going to hear definitely some music. I guarantee it. Alrighty, so be there. When you hear the word Latino, Latina, or Latinx, what is the very first things that come to mind to you?
Family.
I like that.
Family.
Do you consider yourself Latino? Do you prefer Hispanic? Do you care Mexican American?
I don't care. It depends who it comes from, right? Sometimes I think that there's a heaviness to the word that, depending on who's using it, can be taken ill. So as long as it's coming from a good place of just understanding, like, oh, I see you as a Latino, whatever that may look like. I maybe don't know the definition. As long as it's just coming from a good place.
Yeah. Don't try to do that little side thing. Oh, you're Latino, huh?
Exactly.
We know what you mean. We know what you mean. Okay, so let's start the interview part. So once again, thank you. You do some very particular work that I think is necessary for our community, but I just want to get to learn a little bit of your story. So growing up as Latino, you grew up in what area? Great?
Just south of Fort Worth in a small town called Grandview.
So Grandview. In Grandview, when you were growing up, what does it look like to you as a kid? Are you able to see that you're being Latino and kind of sort of that stands out, or not necessarily because everybody's kind of similar to you?
Yeah, no, completely stand out. The majority of the population of Grandview is white. So I was a token brown kid in my class, So I grew up my graduating class was no more than, I think there were 84 of us total. And I went to school with them from first grade through graduation. A few left, a few came, but for the most part, the same kids that I started first grade with are the same kids that I finished high school with. And in my graduating class, I was probably one of maybe 4 or 5 people of color. Latino specific, probably one of 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was there ever anything that stood out for you as far as the way that people behave? Or in that smaller towns, you kind of sort of sometimes can't tell the difference because everybody just knows each other since you were little.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the unique experiences about growing up in that town was that I knew, and like my friends knew, that I was Latino and that I was different, but there was also no calling out of it, right? Or I'm sure you've heard the term, like, even growing up as we got older into high school, they're like, you know what, you're kind of like a coconut, right? Like, because you assimilate in this white town for the most part. So they're like, yeah, you're brown on the outside, but you're acting like us. You act white, or you are white. And I'm like, I still struggle with that definition because I don't know what acting white or being white is. I'm just like, I'm Latino and I grew up in a small town, like that's what it is.
Well, the thing is that you adapt to your environment, right? So, for example, if we're Mexicanos, when you go to Zacatecas, and you amongst the people, all of a sudden you find yourself kind of sort of talking like them. It's the same thing. If it's all you hear and that's the way they act and that's how they express themselves, you kind of like get involved in that same thing, and you kind of get influenced, and without even knowing that you're doing it, you are doing it. You're acting a certain way per se, but that's just who you are,
right? And I think that's that last part, right? It's like that's just who I am, right? Regardless, at the end of the day, of where I'm hanging out, my personality is going to be my personality. And maybe for them, it's just like, oh, well, you don't speak. I remember this one instance it was my senior year of high school, and I was hanging out. I was in band. And it was after graduation, and we were hanging out in the band hall, and this one younger classman, Latina, came up and interrupted me and my other friend Valerie, and we were just talking. And she directed herself towards Valerie and was just like, God, you just think you're better than us. Like, you think you're the Latina that's better than everybody. Completely like side posing me. And Valerie's just like, what about him? Like there's a Latino like right here. I'm talking to another Latino, like, and they're like, oh, he doesn't count. And I was just like, what does that mean? Exactly. Why? Why do I not count as Latino enough in this setting, in this space?
Of those 4 people.
Of those 4 people that are there.
Oh,
and I'm the only one out of all of them that consistently went to Mexico, that knew Spanish, that, was really embracive of the culture. But for some reason, when people looked at me in school, in high school, I wasn't Latino.
Can you tell that you speak a little different, sound a little different at times? Let's say if you're predominantly a neighborhood that grew up nothing but Latinos, that you can kind of sound a little bit different?
Definitely. I think, after, we were just talking about visiting Mexico, I think after 24 hours or 48 hours of being in Mexico, my demeanor and my tone changes. But maybe that's it. Maybe they just pick up on something.
I'm telling you, it's the environment. That's the reason why a lot of Mexicanos, Latinos, they say the N-word. They grew up predominantly with a African-American neighborhood, and that's all they knew. Yeah. And they use it like it's nothing to them because it's not offensive because all their homies is the same way. Well, you're in the different environment with Caucasian individuals, and that's all y'all talk, and that's all y'all. Yeah, that's the way you carry yourself. You
Caucasian individuals, farmlands, cows, horses. It's, again, very small country town. Yeah. And I will say though,
I don't hear the country. I don't hear the
But I will say, even growing up in that kind of smaller town, in that country town, I really didn't experience racism either. Right. Again, it was just very, maybe there were some, comments here and there growing up, but that's going to be anywhere.
What were the ones that kind of sort of caught your attention? That you were saying something funny?
Just, you would hear the term wetback every now and then, and maybe not directed at me specifically, but you would hear it.
Okay, here's that. We're going to pick up on the conversation with Alyssa because you were one of the good ones. Not you, but them.
Yeah.
Did you ever understood that or had that type of conversation? Oh, no, we're not talking about you, we're talking about them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not knowing that you look just like them and you go to Mexico just like them and you have parents that might have gone through the same journey.
I get it on both sides. I got it growing up here on the, but you act different. You don't act.
You speak English.
You speak English, right? You don't act hood. You don't act, right? Like they have this perception of Latino or people of color are supposed to be less than, or
that's all the TV, though.
Or thuggish, or this.
TV,
it's TV. It's what they're picking up on social media and this poor projection of us. And so when they're talking about that community, we're talking about people like us. You get excluded, right? Because they know you differently. They don't see that side because that's not real life, right? And so you're different. And so they say, oh, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the other ones.
But it's crazy that they cannot put you there too and think that all of them just act just like you.
Yeah.
Their mind is that just because we don't see you all the time and we interact all the time, that you must be different. Right. You must be like they paint you on the news or on the TV. Not like, all of them talk like Jesse over here on this side as well.
Right. Yeah.
That's crazy.
But then when I would go to Mexico...
Oh, we do it too.
Right? We do it too. When I would go to Mexico...
It's not okay. I'm saying, but we do it too.
Right? It goes both ways. I would go hang out with my friends in Mexico, and it wasn't necessarily that they would say that I acted white. It was, eres bien fresa. Te crees mucho, right? Fresa is very preppy. And in the region where I grew up, that's what they call preppy.
Mucho, you think you're all that.
Yeah, you think you're all that. Eres muy fresa. Eres muy particular, right? You're very particular. Yeah, you're very particular. You're very, the way that you present yourself, like you don't. And I was just like, guys, I'm out here in the streets playing with you. Like, I don't get what this difference that you're trying to create. Like, there's no line drawn.
Yeah. That's true to that. And at the end of the day, I think it's just people's don't get offended. Ignorance to be able to experience other cultures, that they don't get it. That there's other things out there. Yeah. Because they're accustomed to their little town and their little neighborhood and how everybody acts. And they don't think that somewhere out there in the other side of the world or even another neighborhood or another country or state, they act different.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is half serious.
It clicked in my head, well, he's stabbing me.
This coach is a convicted felon.
You're going to at least have one consequence for the rest of your life.
And that was the hardest thing that I think I've ever had to do.
Whether or not you want to survive, none of that matters. You've got to kill your ego.
Being there for each other when someone's going through a hard time.
Baby out of a car seat, it's got an 8-inch butcher knife sticking out of its stomach.
And he just cocks it back, puts it to the head, and just pops himself right in the head.
It ain't just about that. Your legacy is how you treat people.
Yep. We laugh, we curse, and we keep freaking going. So pour a drink or start your marathon, and let's get into it.
No, completely. I think people, unfortunately, that don't expand their horizons outside of the bubble that they've lived in don't truly know what the world is like. I remember, even in high school, good friends being like, you're going to Mexico this summer, or for, like I mentioned to you, I go for Thanksgiving every year. They don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but it was a time that we could take advantage of because we had time off. Yeah. And they're like, do y'all have running water? Do y'all have electricity? I'm like, where do you think, like, I'm not going to some, middle of nowhere ranchito. Like, that's not what all of Mexico is. But like you were saying, it's projected in social media and older movies of, these dirt roads and horses and cantinas and things. It's just like, that's not the real Mexico. Mexico City was the largest city in the world for the longest time.
Yeah. See, they heard my story because I grew up with no running water and outhouses, and that's that Mexico también.
Yeah. And it's both, and they're beautiful. And they're both beautiful, and they both have unique experiences and privileges to it, but it can be more than just that. Yeah. And it isn't just that either.
Absolutely. Okay, so Zacatecas. You're born here. Your parents migrated to the U.S.?
So my mom is from here. My mom is Mexican-American, Latina, Chicana, however you want to call
generations?
It. Probably about 4 or 5 generations. Awesome. I think my grandfather's side is definitely so paternal on my mother's side. My grandfather his family is Texan for as far back as we can track it.
Since it was Mexico back
in the day. Yeah, even before Mexico, right? Like whatever it was beforehand, that we can track it back that far. My dad is from Mexico, Rio Grande, Zacatecas, migrated when he was 18. So I get the privilege of having both worlds.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you remember your very first trip to Mexico, Zacatecas, as a kid? And then the earliest memories. So what did you used to experience when you got over there, and what it felt like being there, living life a few days over there and experiencing all that?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. I don't remember my first time. So I think my dad specifically, took me when I was maybe a year and a half.
I wouldn't remember either.
Yeah, but he took me and my mom didn't go. So it was just me and him, and went to introduce me to his family, right? Because they hadn't come up to the U.S. And so it was an introduction of me. And my poor mom on the back end was just like, she had never been to Mexico before. And she hadn't been with my dad very long either. She's like, este señor mexicano se acaba de ir mi hijo a Mexico. I don't know if they're going to come back, yeah. So thankfully I don't remember that experience, but I've been going since I was probably about a year and a half. Nice. My earliest probably remembrance of that is probably around 3, just playing with the cousins. So when we would visit, we would always stay at my tia's house, and she had a larger house and multiple bedrooms. So we always just stay there. My abuelita lived with her. And so my abuelita was kind of my caretaker directly when I was there. And yeah, I just remember, again, like playing with the kids on the streets and being outside and escondidas and just running around until the night lights came on and just experiencing that fully.
What about the community in general? Just interacting with your tias and your grandma. How did that feel for you?
Yeah, very good. I was super close to my grandmother, to my abuelita. It's funny because whenever we would reference family, internally with my parents, my abuelita was my abuelita, and my grandma, my mom's side, even though she's Latina, I would never call her abuelita. That was grandma, and I had abuelita. And that's how I distincted the two. But I was super close. And to this day, we're in a group chat. We check in on each other. Like I said, I try to go once to 2 or maybe even 3 times a year. Yeah. We're all just super close, very close knit family. And my mom has had some health issues along the years. And my tia, my dad's sister, my mom has probably 11 siblings. Ooh. My mom's one of 12.
My dad's side.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's my tia, my dad's sister from Mexico, who's always the first one to get on the bus or a plane, come up and help out and take care of her.
That's awesome.
So, again, they accepted my mom with open arms, and we're a tight-knit family. That's the way it is.
What about the food? Growing up, going over there, eating some of that food, even into the night, like eating, I don't know if y'all did it, but what we did, like un cafecito with some pan right before bed.
Oh, absolutely, dude. That's where I got my coffee addiction from, right? That's why I can't sleep to this day. Dude, I mean, on our street alone, we had people, outside of their houses selling tacos, selling gorditas dorados. I don't know if you've ever had gorditas dorados, but like they literally just deep fry it, right? And then they stuff it after that. It's just so good. And the salsa, and my grandmother, my abuelita, was a great cook. Homemade tortillas, you could always smell them in the kitchen going.
De maíz o de
harina.
De harina.
Yeah, flour.
In el norte, they do it.
Always. Also, I mean, everything, right? Spaghetti verde. I don't know if you've ever had that. Yeah.
With
so, with chile poblano and crema. Yeah. Rollo. They make a dish called rollo discada.
What is el rollo?
Rollo is basically a common. I feel like it's the Mexican version of a beef Wellington. It's so you get a thin layer of meat, and then you add jamon, and then you add cheese, and then you add another layer of meat, and like you literally roll it and bake it for a few hours. And then you kind of just chop that into slices and serve it with spaghetti verde.
Do you think that sounds like a dish from another like European?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think it's probably inspired by like a beef Wellington, right? Because beef Wellington is meat, and it's stuffed internally, and so
they play polka in Zacatecas. Don't they like polka?
A little bit, yeah. So tamborazo music, and it's very much inspired by kind of polka and the accordion and everything that goes with it.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
As far as like all those things that get mixed together, all of a sudden it just becomes a thing over there, and they never knew the history of it came from somewhere else or whatever. But they make it their own.
They do. Yeah.
Okay, so as far as during that time, growing up, anything, is mental health even a thing addressed to you? Some of those things that you were having, like, could be traumatic as far as the kids' interactions, the people saying a few things. Any of that things kind of sparks any curiosity for you as far as mental health at all?
Not at that age. I think it really took effect in my later years of life. Because when I think back, and even when I talk to my therapist, and by the way, everybody should have a therapist. If you don't have a therapist, go find one. It's good to just have somebody to vent to and have an unbiased opinion to check things. Doesn't mean that you're crazy. Doesn't mean that you're depressed or anxious. It's just good to have a person in a safe space. So highly recommend if you don't have one. But I was telling my therapist.
Before you get to that, resources of people that might lack funding, that they can get some help to get a counselor or a therapist.
Yeah, no, there are so many programs out there. MHMR is one of them in Tarrant County. MHMR, it's called Metro Care on the Dallas side. But those are free county funded and state funded programs. And what I always try to tell people is, if you don't have resources, if you don't have the finances, the insurance, whatever it may be, call anybody. Go on Google, look up a therapist, and I guarantee you, if they can't financially be a fit for you, they're going to refer you somewhere that is. That's what it starts with. Just reach out.
Okay. So you were saying about your therapist you were talking to?
Yeah. So I was talking to my therapist, and, as we get into a little bit more of what my mental health kind of journey is, we couldn't identify like any one specific traumatic event that led to my mental health journey. They were just like small manifestations that kept growing and growing until I finally had my core issue of what it is that I was struggling with, or am struggling with to this day. But it doesn't always, I think that's where sometimes the misconception happens with mental health, is that people think that this event has to happen. It doesn't. There's never always just one thing. For some people there is, right? For some people there is that traumatic experience, that the loss of somebody, a car accident, and God forbid, school shootings, right? Like there's, for some people there are events that happen that lead to a mental health break. For others, they're just small daily things that end up accumulating over time that lead to the sense of maybe loneliness or depression or a lot of social anxiety, financial unrest, right? So there's multiple factors that lead into it.
When is it that you have something that stands out that all of a sudden you need to be able to reach out to a doctor to see something's not right, something doesn't seem okay? I don't know if you told your parents and they were supportive of that, but anything that happened at that time?
Yeah. So for me, my specific journey.
And if you want to share, you can. If you're not, I'm respectful of it. But
yeah, no.
With the intention, if anybody was to go through it, can decipher what's going on, hopefully it will help them out.
Yeah, no, I'd love to share. I think because I think it's one of the topics that we specifically don't even talk about in the Latino culture or even as men.
Yep.
So my specific journey is recovery from an eating disorder. And so my eating disorder developed really my senior year of high school, freshman year of college, which was a perfect time, right? Because I moved away from home. I could do things in secret. Nobody was checking on me. So I had the opportunity to really engage in eating disorders. For me specifically, that was anorexia and bulimia. And nobody had any idea, right? So at the age of 18, my senior year in high school, it started off as fasting for Lent. I gave up meat for Lent. So I became vegetarian for those 40 days. Told myself that I'd try to eat meat after those 40 days, didn't like it, so I stayed vegetarian. Well, that continued to manifest and, I started to drop weight. And then I started exercising, and then I started losing more weight and more weight. And the one thing that I think we, as not only Latino culture, as a society in general, we always compliment people's figure.
Yeah.
And so when you're getting positive reinforcement of, oh, you look great, mijo, right? You're losing weight. You're so much thinner, this and that. It creates this or propels this mindset of, I'm doing what I need to be doing.
Right.
And so I had that for many years in college. And some people knew, but it was very much, I have the personality type of, you're not going to tell me what to do, right? Like, I know what I'm doing with my life. If I don't ask for your opinion about it, don't give me your opinion.
Was there any dysmorphia that you were seeing?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was checking myself in the mirror 5 times a day, pinching, grabbing, seeing where I could still lose weight.
Wow.
I became obsessed with numbers, how many calories I was burning, how many miles a day I was running, what the scale said. I had this magic number in my head that if I just hit it, then life would be perfect.
And when you hit that number every single time, what happened?
Life wasn't perfect. So you want to go for more, right? And so then, again, it becomes even more than the eating disorder. It becomes an OCD, right? Like obsessive compulsive behavior, right? In the sense that it is a compulsion. You eat something, the immediate thought process or the obsessive thought process is, oh, I'm going to gain weight. So the compulsion, the behavior that follows is purging, right? So it's eating disorder, yes, but it's also OCD. And then it's perfectionism. And then it's anxiety. And then it's depression. And then it's body dysmorphia. So they all kind of just roll into one thing.
How many years did that go until you got help?
So again, some friends knew, right, from the beginning all the way through now.
They didn't try to stop you or kind of say something. They felt like you might have cut them off.
Yeah, I think they felt, knowing who I am, knowing my personality type, I think they were maybe fearful that I would have expressed maybe anger or resentment and maybe ended a friendship or had an argument where they were just trying to come from a good place. But when you're in your disorder, when you're in that state of mind, you're protective, right? You're defensive. And so I can understand why they wouldn't. So it wasn't until COVID 2020, what year was that? 2020?
2020.
That I was 28. I don't even know how old I am anymore. It was.
You tell me, bro. I don't know. Can you just put a number? 25.
Yeah, it was maybe even a little bit later. But every year with my eating disorder, I would tell myself, next year will be better. Next year's going to be my year. Next year I'll be healthy. I'm going to surpass this. When I'm 30, it's not going to be an issue anymore because I'll be more mature, right? Like it'll magically just go away.
So you knew that something was not right? And
yeah.
I
identified, I knew, and to this day, I still know that it's not right? Like I know I have a disorder, or I knew that I was engaging heavily in this disorder. But I didn't care.
When did rock bottom happen, or who was it that really brought it to your attention that you were able to like kind of sort of like, okay, maybe there's something going on here?
I don't think it was anyone specific that did it. Again, I think it was during COVID, and I was sitting on my bed. I remember this day. I was sitting on my bed, and I had just purged, and I came to the result. I was just like, 12 years later, and I'm still doing this.
Wow.
And I keep telling myself year after year that it's going to get better. And I think in that moment, I just had that clarity of it's not going to get better if I don't do anything about it, or if I don't talk to somebody about it. So it started off little. I reached out to a therapist, found a new therapist that specialized in eating disorders. And then I got a nutritionist to maybe help during that time. And shout out to this therapist, Le Monde Nutrition. If you are struggling with an eating disorder and need a nutritionist, highly seek them out. She was a phenomenal nutritionist, and you know, we talked about what my eating behaviors were, and she's like, you need a higher level of care. You need more help than I can give you. She's like, but let's start small, right? Like, I don't want to scare you off and then you not get any help at all. And so we did. We worked with each other for a couple of months, and there wasn't really much progress, which she was anticipating. She goes, we have two options. Ethically, I don't think that I can continue to see you because you're not getting better, right? The other option is you go to the higher level of care. And that scared the shit out of me, to admit or to be able to say, I'm sick enough that I need to go check myself into a treatment center. That's a scary thought. That's a hard reality, or a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
So shout out to her for being persistent and making me, she's like, just make the phone call. She's like, even if you decide not to go, let's get a different opinion of somebody who's clinically trained to give you an assessment and let them determine if you're sick enough to go or not. And I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Was your health plummeting at all? That's why she was concerned, or she knew it was coming in the horizon that would have been worse?
I think she knew that it was coming in the horizon. And that's a tricky part about eating disorders too, is that it's hidden so well. And in my mind, I thought I wasn't sick enough, right? Because I would go get my yearly physical, my lab works. Everything always came back normal. Everything was fine. But that's why eating disorders are so deadly, because they're kind of in stealth mode.
What is the long-term effect of doing it consistently for 10, 20, 30 years?
So from a dental standpoint, tooth decay, right? Because if you're purging
the acids,
from an internal just kind of body standpoint, tachycardia, a lot of heart issues, because you're kind of in the sense of purging, you're forcing your heart to do a lot. Kidney failure, liver issues, a lot of just GI issues in general.
GI?
Gastrointestinal, right? So
you better
stomach
spell
issues.
it out for me, bro.
A lot of gastrointestinal issues, esophageal issues, acid reflux. So there's a lot of components. So eating disorders outside of eating disorders are the number one cause of death within mental health.
Wow. I did not know that.
But people don't talk about it enough, right? It's always suicide.
It's always suicide, or my mind is thinking depression that leads to suicide.
Eating disorders.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so she saw, I think she foresaw that in the horizon. Like, if this kid doesn't get better, not even kid, I was a grown ass man. She's like, if he doesn't get better, then these are the health issues that I know he's going to face. So I made that phone call to a treatment center. And I did the assessment, and they're like, you need to get your ass into treatment. I'm like, what you're describing is highly acute symptoms. I said, okay.
What does that mean? You have to literally check yourself in for some time?
Yeah. So I shout out to the treatment center. It's called Alsana, one of the greater ones here, and they're nationwide. And have several facilities all over for adults 18 and older. But that level of care is residential care. And so you're there from anywhere from 30 days to 60 to 90 days. My specific kind of length of stay was about 65 days in treatment. And at that point, that's when I told my parents.
So even the whole time still hidden, they don't know anything.
They don't know anything.
That even after you have checked into the place, they don't wonder where you're at?
No. So I told them before I went to the place. I was still working with the nutritionist, right? I had been working with the therapist, but they didn't know any of that. How
do they take it? Especially your father, being Mexicano, the way we think or act sometimes.
Yeah. I'm one of those people. I'm going to kind of backtrack the story a little bit. When I communicate with my parents are very loving, open-minded. My dad, being Mexicano, he himself isn't machista. My dad grew up without a father. My dad's father died when he was 8 years old in a tragic fire. And so I think my dad's kind of parental approach and was longing for a father. So my father's always been like a best friend kind of dad. Awesome. And just really supportive because I think that he lacked that and he identified that. So my first kind of instance in telling my parents hard information or hard things about myself was my coming out. Right. So when I came out as gay when I was 18, I wrote them a letter. That's how I tell my parents things. I write things out.
Write a letter?
I don't like to talk to people in person about heavy topics.
Doing a great job here.
Thank you.
I did not get a letter.
Yeah.
I got a small bio.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And so my coming out was through a letter. And that itself had its struggles, right? I mean, I think parents in general have a perception of what life is going to look like for their children. Then you throw them a curveball, and then people have patience with your parents because they also have to grieve that thought as well. And I learned that later in life. In the moment, I was angry. I was frustrated with them about it. So they already had experience with me coming out with, like, no pun intended, with hard things.
What were you mad and upset at the time? At them specifically, or
more so at how my mom took it. My dad took my coming out much better than I expected, right? I waited until I was 18 because in my mind, as society kind of portrays, like, you're going to get kicked out. Your parents aren't going to love you. Your parents are, right? Like, that's the impression I think that we get as closeted gay people is this fear of we're going to be rejected. And so my thought was, I'm going to wait till I'm 18. I've been accepted to college. So if they do kick me out, I at least have a plan, right? Like I'm going off anyways.
You got a plan.
I got a plan. And it wasn't that. My dad is my best friend, and his words to me were, I can't protect you, in the sense that he knew I was going to have a harder life than most people, right? Like, I can't protect you from the hate or the things that people are going to say about you or things like that.
Right.
That was his only concern, was I don't know how to protect you. I don't know how to be there in that manner for you. But it was never an issue. My mom, on the other hand, we were raised Catholic and Pentecostal. My mom grew up Pentecostal, so a little bit more on the heavy Christian side of things.
Yeah.
So I think for her there was that kind of just sense of, and I think a lot of parents do this, I failed as a parent, right? Did I do something wrong? You know, and not that it's selfish. I just think that that's human nature. You just kind of bring that on. And she took a little bit more of that kind of religious stance on, like, it's a family secret. Let's go to church. Let's talk to the priest. And I'm like,
he'll tuck it out of you.
I was just like, man, they ain't gonna tell me, you know, like, they ain't gonna tell me nothing, right? That I haven't already thought about, prayed about, tried, whatever.
The thing, like, I mean, I don't know if your mom, but in general, I feel like that you're abandoned by God if you're gay or something.
Yeah, right. And so
heck?
I think for her, it was a place of fear, right? Again, kind of similar to my dad. It showed up differently for her, but similar to my dad, it's just like, how do I save him? How do I make sure that he is saved or that he is okay, that he is protected?
Her save was you making it to heaven. His was different from the world.
From the world, right? And so hers was, I don't want to say moral because it wasn't that, but it was, it was this religious component to it. And it took a couple of years. And then I remember coming home from college one day and she was just like, hey, did you see that your cousin is getting married? I'm like, yeah. To another girl, right? And she's like, oh, yeah, no, good for them. And in that moment, I got hot. I was just like, oh, good for them. But me, your son, you haven't been able to tell me or express to me that, like, that we're good now, that we're okay. But that was her way of saying, like, gay marriage is okay. Like I hope that you get to have that one day. So that was her way of, like, slowly accepting what the reality was.
So your cousin was a girl married to another girl?
Yes.
Okay, so that was fine.
Yeah. Not that it was fine. I think since a couple of years had gone by, I think my mom was doing her own work behind the scenes that we weren't talking about. I think she was, just grappling with the reality of it, and ultimately came to the realization that it's fine. Like there's nothing wrong. There's nothing different.
That's cool.
And I think her way of saying, like, oh, your cousin's getting married to a girl, and, like, that's cool, right? Like we're good. I'm an ally, right? Like gay pride, I think that was her way of doing that.
Parents can be funny sometimes.
They can. And I think they struggle just as much as we do as their children of, like, how do we have these conversations?
Yeah. Now we get to the second hardest conversation.
And now we get to the second hardest conversation. And sure enough, I wrote a long ass message via WhatsApp because I'm in a group chat with my parents. And so I send them this long ass message, basically, hey, since I was 18, I've been struggling and hiding this eating disorder. And I've always done a good job of hiding it. But I'm at the point now, even more than ever, that, like, I'm realizing I need more help than I can give myself. And so, and I said all of that. And I was like, by the way, in 4 days, I'm jumping on a plane. I'm going to California and I'm checking myself into treatment. So I hit him hard with it. Like, have an eating disorder. I'm moving away basically for, 2.5 months or however period of time they deem I need. And so my dad reached out and he was just like, let's go to lunch. Let's just meet up somewhere. Let's go to lunch. The irony, right? Of, like, I have an eating disorder. Yeah, let's go eat food. Let me feed you, right?
Parents be
trying. And so we did. We went out to lunch, and a little bit of questions of, for how long? Why didn't you tell us? And it talking about mental health is hard, and I think as a kid, you don't want to hurt your parents, and so you kind of take that weight on as well. Of, I was also trying to protect them, right? Like, I didn't want to expose my issues when they have life going on as well. Like, I should have handled this on my own. But they have been super supportive, and they're like, well, whatever you need, like, do we need to pay for treatment? Do we need to fly with you to California? What do we need to do to figure this out? And so I was like, nothing right now. Just love me. That's all I need. I just need love and support in the best way that you can show up. And so I did. I jumped on the plane 4 days later, went to California. We did a lot of family sessions during my time there. So weekly, they would be Zoomed in, and we would kind of have these discussions on just understanding how to move forward and acknowledge that I had an eating disorder without always making it a topic, right? Because that's the hard part, is you then want to come, or you get back home, or you expose that you have an eating disorder, and then every conversation is about food and your eating disorder.
Okay.
And that's not helpful.
That's not helpful.
Right.
Because it's always a reminder.
Because it's always a reminder. Right. And so they were giving a lot of skills and showing my parents how to navigate acknowledging that I had an eating disorder without making it a big deal. Not to say that it's not. It is a big deal.
We're talking about living.
We're talking
when
about living.
You're living together, we're maneuvering through that. How
when
do
you're
you
going to
handle that?
restaurants and having lunch and, you know, checking in. And I think something important for people to understand too is that recovery, whether it's eating disorder, depression, substance use, alcohol, recovery is not linear. And I hate saying it because it's such a cheesy, corny thing that we use in the industry. But recovery isn't linear. It doesn't look the same for everybody. You're going to have ebbs and flows. You're going to have relapses or whatever you want to call it. There's going to be bumps along the road of your recovery. And for my therapist at that time in treatment had to show my parents that, or had to have them understand that just because I went to treatment doesn't mean that I'm fixed the minute that I leave, right? And so we came up with a system basically to communicate green light, yellow light, red light. Like green light, I'm doing great in recovery. Yellow, excuse me, yellow, I'm struggling a little bit. And red really was just okay, we need to get him back into treatment if it gets that bad again. And so that's kind of how we navigate at the moment. And they're very subtle. My dad's just like, hey, do you want to go eat? Right? Or a reminder message of, hiciste un licuado? You know, like, did you have something today? Not checking in heavy on like, are you eating 3 times a day? Are you doing this? No, nothing like that. It's
what does that generate for a person going through it? As the counselor might explain, whenever they check in on you like that, they're ya comiste, what does that do?
Yeah, I think it triggers just a little. It triggers accountability, and I think for a lot of people and their addictions, right, whatever it may be, it's secretive. And so we're accountable only to ourselves, that we don't have to answer to anybody, so we can get away with it. The minute that you start letting loved ones know that are there for you and want to be your support system, they're going to call you out on it. And so those are those little subtle reminders of, 1, are you taking care of yourself? 2, I'm only asking because I care about you. I'm not asking you to shame you. I'm not asking you to express anger or to get onto you or whatever it is. It's their subtle way of saying, are you good? And we, as the person in recovery, we have to acknowledge that too, that we are cared for. And this is somebody's way of just showing that support to us.
Yeah.
And not have that resentment or anger for them asking.
Yeah, because for somebody that's, for example, addiction, any little thing could be like triggering for, why are you asking me? Why are you questioning me? What are you saying about that? You know what I mean? So all those things come into place, and I guess they don't understand. And I know sometimes it's the addiction part that is talking, not really that person, but any of those things could be triggering, not knowing that if you don't know how to love, but you want to care and ask about somebody how they're doing, sometimes they might not have the right word to say. How you doing? How you had a drink today or something like that. Instead of like, are you okay? Or another way of asking without having them feel like they getting pressed on questions about, are they drinking again, or are they acting up again, or all these things.
Right. And it's I think it's a softer approach to just saying, again, are you taking care of yourself? And if you're not, I'm here for you.
Yeah, for sure. Whenever you were going, I know you said that, you can nobody tell you anything like that, but was there anything that you might have wanted to hear even at that time when you kind of sort of realized it wasn't normal what you were experiencing? Was there anything that anybody could have said that might have helped you out at all?
Yeah, I think just in general, right? I think as a Latino culture in our families, we're real quick to give kids or people nicknames, right? And again, in Latino culture specifically, I've noticed that we're also quick to comment on people's weight and size and how they look, right? So I think just kind of looking back, I wish, or my hope would have been maybe more emphasis on body positivity versus maybe a negative connotation, right?
Yeah.
And this is kind of the hard part too, because we use people's, I don't want to say defects, but people's defects as cariños, right? Ay, narizón ven, right? Like
gordito.
Ay, gordito. So for me, I was called gordito a lot growing up, right? And so those little things just, again, kind of continue to manifest themselves into bigger things. And again, my family wasn't saying it out of a place of maliciousness or hate, right? But they're like, hey, gordito.
Term
gordito.
of affection.
Yeah, it's a term of affection.
For somebody within the family.
For somebody within
Güerita,
the family.
güera. You know, the things you don't know.
Moreno, right? Or
negrito.
Yeah.
It's just common.
Yeah, very common. And again, not that it's negatively implied to be anything mean, but those things matter.
But just like you said, linear care is not for everybody. Not everybody's going to take those compliments or those little cariñito positive.
The same way.
And it could be a negative effect on them later on, you know?
Yeah.
So that could
because you plant seeds, right? You're like, oh, I am gordito. Like, I didn't think about it until you said it, right? Like, I was just a kid playing with other kids, right? And so then somebody brings awareness to it, and then it plants a little seed like, oh, I am a little bit bigger than the other kids. And then as you get older, you continue to gain weight, and so you're like, no, I am bigger than other people. And so then it becomes this thing, and
it could become part of their identity too, right?
Absolutely.
Which is not healthy to be bigger than that, because there's longer terms.
You know, I always think of the comedian
Fluffy?
Gabriel Iglesias,
Fluffy.
right? Like they call him Fluffy. And for so long, he was a bigger person. And then I think he realized, you know, that there were health consequences to that as well. And obviously he's kind of had his own weight loss journey. And but he's still Fluffy, right? He's still Gabriel.
But imagine
at the end of the day, you're still you.
Since he was little, if let's say they always pushed that and it was okay for him to be that way, and the consequences in the longer term, they never set in until all of a sudden now he's having a visit with his doctor, and all of a sudden like, oh, you're going to have heart problems, you're going to have this problem, you have diabetes, kind of change it. And again, it just becomes part of your identity. So because you're so used to always everybody showing affection with those terms, instead of like they're doing something for you negatively in the long term, in the long run. So, okay. When is it that you actually get into the actual industry of helping people with mental illnesses and healthcare, mental care?
Yeah, it's this is kind of the part where like the imposter syndrome, right, as well. So I went to college for psychology. I was pre-med, and then I switched to psychology because I knew I wanted to help people. Thank you to therapists. I could not pursue a master's to become a therapist. I don't have the patience to work one-on-one with clients, but I knew that I still wanted to do something kind of within the social work.
So you go into school battling everything that you're battling and trying to help people?
Yeah.
Is that because you wanted to help yourself some way, somehow? Like cry for help?
I think so. I think it was kind of a cry for help, but also a way of just like, I know how crappy this feels. I don't want somebody else to feel this way. So if I can help them not feel this way, even though I do, then I want to help them through that, right? And so I did. I got my degree in psychology from Texas Tech and moved back to the Fort Worth area, and was working retail. I was a manager for a retail store that opened up, and my dad was just like, Mijo, you went to college, like you got your degree. And not that there's anything wrong with retail management. I still love retail management. But he was like, maybe try to find something in what you pursued, right? And so I got into one of the resources that I mentioned earlier, MHMR Tarrant County. I didn't need to have a master's degree to do case management. And so that was kind of my entry level job into the field. And MHMR, I learned a lot. I was working with indigent, homeless population, active addiction, active psychosis, people that literally had no resources, no family, no support system. And you're trying to help them with the best that you can, being kind of a nonprofit, right? Which isn't a whole lot.
Yeah.
But you get exposed to a lot of real life situations that people are going through. And then my career just kind of went on from there. I worked for an inpatient acute psych hospital, which is crisis stabilization for people that are either actively in addiction, needing detox, or are having severe acute mental health issues active psychosis, suicidal ideation, so deep in their depression or anxiety that it's preventing them from just accomplishing simple daily tasks, right?
Wow.
Like that level of care. And so I worked in that level of care for 5 years. And then I worked for a residential treatment center and learned more about the substance use side, more about eating disorders, more about problematic sexual behaviors, sex addiction, porn addiction. So there's so many avenues of mental health that I don't think people realize, right?
Yeah.
And internet addiction, phone addiction, gambling addiction, sex addiction, porn addiction, food addiction, right? On the opposite side of anorexia and bulimia, you have overeating and binge eating. So there's so many avenues within this industry or mental health in general that I now work for a partial hospitalization program, intensive outpatient program, which is a mid-level of care. So it's not as heavy as that acute setting, that 7 to 10 day stabilization, but it isn't just weekly or monthly therapy either. It's 5 days a week, a couple of hours a day. You go back home to your family or whatever it is that you have, and you apply those skills. Something doesn't work, you come back the next day, you process, we give you tools and skills to be able to continue to get better. And so then you gradually step down from that.
Wow.
And then you go into individual therapy and medication management.
As soon as you took your first entry level, was there a particular passion for the work that you were getting into and the need that you saw, that not just Latinos, but in general? Or do you even see any Latinos getting help?
Yeah, I feel fulfilled, right? It is a rewarding job and helping people navigate a system that is hard to navigate, right? If you never dealt with mental health issues in general, and you have a family member or yourself hit a moment of crisis, it's not as simple as going to the hospital like you would if you cut your leg and have to go get stitches. These are parts of the health industry that people have no idea how to navigate through. What level of care do I need? Where do I start? How do I get an assessment? How much is it going to cost me? What is my insurance accepted, right? So there's so many components that the fulfilling part for me is helping individuals navigate that system and finding out where they can get the resources that they need.
Give me an example of crisis. What are people might not even understand they're in a crisis, or how you even get to a crisis, or what is to look like to people?
Yeah. So, suicidal ideation, right? It may start off as, oh, I'm just feeling a little depressed, right? Well, if you don't address it immediately, then it builds up and it builds up and it builds up, and then it becomes overwhelming. And then you go into the state of mind of, well, maybe I'd be better off not alive.
Addressing it, meaning getting counseling and help, or processing that particular feeling as you're feeling it and why you're feeling it that way.
So getting help, right? Having a trained professional help you process those feelings, right? It's one thing to do it on your own and maybe acknowledge like, oh, okay, yeah, I realize I'm feeling kind of blue, right? But if it's something more severe than that, definitely seek out a therapist. At minimum, start there, right? Before it becomes more problematic. So whenever somebody's in a crisis state of mind, they're actively suicidal, or maybe they finally had that mental health break of schizophrenia. Schizophrenia sometimes is sudden. There's no warning sign to it. A lot of the times it clicks. It happens. Wow. Bipolar disorder. I think we all kind of remember when Britney Spears had her mental health break, right? And she shaved her head. Like that was a moment of crisis, projected to the world. She seemed fine until that day, right? So those are moments of crisis.
Is that a lot of stress that goes that kind of sort of gets you to that spot, or is it multiple things that contribute to that?
Yeah, multiple things, right? It could be stress induced. It could be, I know that you previously had another one of our friends on, lack of sleep, lack of sleep is a big thing. People need to sleep. When you're not sleeping properly, it can definitely mess with your mental state of mind. Substance use, are you using additional substances? How frequent are you using them? There are consequences to drinking too much. There are consequences to experimenting with other controlled substances. When I worked at the acute hospital, the amount of adolescent kids that we would see come through because they were experimenting with drugs triggered something.
Wow.
Right? They had a bad trip. And so it can be induced by anything.
As somebody that dealt with that, and even going through school and learning about all that, do you feel a different type of empathy for the people that you get to deal with as far as finding them the proper care and different things? Do you get a different feeling than everybody else, a different empathy, because you've been there and you kind of sort of lived through that some?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I think twofold. I think from an education standpoint, having studied it, that this isn't a life that people choose, right? That these are things that it's a chemical imbalance, that there are life situations that happen to people that put them in this place. And so you learn that. And so, you are a little bit more empathetic to them because, I can drive down the street and see a homeless person and I'm aware that they 90% probably have a mental health issue. And they didn't have a support system to help navigate them through the health system to get the help that they needed. Right. And now they're in this situation, right? And so I think the general society is very quick to judge, right? And maybe lacks a little bit of empathy there, and maybe they chose that lifestyle, or maybe they're just addicts, and that's their choice. Why aren't they getting better? Why can't they just stop drinking? Well, because there's a chemical dependence, right? It's beyond just stopping that behavior, and then having my own addiction, right? A food addiction, or addictive behavior. Even more empathy, right? Because I can acknowledge I know what you're feeling. I may not know your exact situation, but I've been there and I get it.
Yeah, because other people, again, it's easy to say just stop in this, but if you've never been there and experienced some of those things that you don't even realize what's happening, that it's easier to say to stop instead of you having to know that you can't stop, even if you wanted to. Yeah,
I laugh because at this point in my life, you just kind of have to laugh at certain things. Me and the group of individuals that I was in treatment with, one of the clients, his addiction was binge eating and overeating. And I think he was the only one in a group of, I think there were like 10 of us. The majority of us, 8 of us, were more so on the anorexic, bulimic side. He was the opposite spectrum, right? Like we were food avoidant. He loved food. He wanted to eat food. And I remember sitting in group one day, and he was on the spectrum. So, his social awareness and social cues, he didn't really perceive those a whole lot. He just kind of said what was on his mind and wasn't really aware of other people's feelings, and not in a negative way. It's just, he was on the spectrum, and that's fine. But we were sitting in group, and he's like, why don't y'all just eat the fucking food? And all of us were like looking at each other and look at him, and we're laughing like, if only we could answer that. If only we knew why we couldn't eat the freaking food.
Oh my God, that's why we're here.
That's why we're here. And so crazy. I think, right. So I think people assume that it's just that easy, and there's just mental health is just so complex. And again, what may work for me as little tidbits of recovery mindset may not work for another person with the same exact issue.
We're wired so different.
We're wired
so different. Right. Even our come up in our lives, the way we grew up, the environment, our physiology, physical part as well. Everything is just so different. That just medication might do this for this person, but not that for that person. That talking to this person might do something for this person, but nothing for that other person. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then you have the cultural elements too, right?
Yeah.
Of for Latinos, like an eating disorder and Latino, like we're so food based, right? I mean,
everything's about food. Gathering and eating and
and so and so you try to blend in and you're trying to hide things and they're going on and you don't exactly know how to talk about them, so you don't, and so everything gets shoved down.
What is the percentage of Latinos that have, I don't know if you ran into some numbers about the percentage of Latinos that have eating disorder?
You know, I haven't come across specific numbers, but during my time of like pursuing recovery, I did kind of look up a lot of things. There's I found a resource, and I'm going to blank on the name of it right now, but I found a resource, and it's a Latina, and she struggled with an eating disorder herself, and she kind of created this support group. It's an online support group, because she identified there's other Latinos that have this issue, right? Like you said, we're the culture that at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, it's having cafecito with pan. You know, post dinner, right?
Post dinner.
And post dessert, you know, right? So like, there's always kind of food, and so I think within the Latino community specifically, because we are so centered around food, it's even less talked about because the expectation is to just partake.
Yeah. For the Latino community in general, what can they do to better help with this particular issue, especially identifying, let's say, again, for you, it went unnoticed for a long time, for a few close friends might have known, but is there any kind of particular signs you can kind of sort of look for, and maybe just kind of ask a few questions like, are you okay? You need something?
No, definitely. I mean, right, not to reinforce the societal behavior of already commenting on people's figures, but if you notice somebody dropping weight or gaining weight like substantially very quickly, just check in. Hey, you doing okay? Right? You don't have to comment on their figure, but be aware that there might be something there. Be vulnerable and talk about your own feelings. I think that's why people shut down, is because, my environment, the people around me, they all seem fine. Everyone seems okay. Well, how can I be the only one that's broken? Right. And so I think that as a community, we just need to talk more and be vulnerable about where we are. Not to say that everybody's depressed or anxious or anything, but that we all have struggles. I mean, we're all living in this world together. Like, we all go through struggles, some more severe than others, but just talking about it. Yeah. To the Latino men specifically, get over the machismo, right? Like, you remember that show? I remember growing up is Lo que callamos las mujeres.
Creo que sí.
Right.
Like I think I remember slightly, pero creo que sí.
Yeah, it was like a telenovela and like things that women specifically go through.
And keep quiet.
And keep quiet, right? Like that, the things that women keep quiet about, right? Yeah. Behind closed doors, relationships, friendships, whatever it may be. They need to make a show for men, because it's the same thing. Lo que callamos los hombres, right? Like the things that men don't process, and Latino men specifically, because they want to be that machista, there's this perception of, I have to be the caretaker, I have to be the person that has the world held together, I'm the provider, I'm this and that. And it's like, you can be those things and struggle and need support and need reassurance and love.
It's such an old way of thinking in 2025 that is a different world compared to those. Let's say if it was necessary to be machista and be that raw guy that's going to defend, because it's just a different world these days. It's just not. Yeah. And how are you going to protect your family if you're not right in the mind to be able to guide them through this modern world, not the back then world?
And imagine how much more your family will come to you knowing that it's okay if I'm struggling. Right? Yeah. It's okay to express that I'm struggling with something. They're not going to think less of me. Because if you're not being vulnerable, you're not showing that side, or you're not showing that it's okay to have feelings, well, then, they're going to stay quiet. Nobody's ever going to seek anything out.
It always trips me out because it's It's funny, but it's not funny. Whenever you see those gentlemen that are late at night drinking, and all of a sudden they break down crying because they had so much, and now they can't hold whatever traumas, issues they had going on, and then for that moment they're fine, and then they go on through, but then they do it again, and it's like there's something there that you need to talk through. Of course,
right?
But you get to the point where you just get together with the pharmacist and you just crying your ball off because you're drunk, and now you still haven't dealt with it just at the moment, even though you were intoxicated and you never talked about it to sort it out.
Yeah, and that's what leads to addiction, right? You're using a maladaptive coping mechanism to not deal with what you need to deal with.
Right. What else can the Latino community do as a whole for mental illness, mental awareness, be better educated as in this modern world? What's going on? How can they help their family and their loved ones?
Yeah. Again, education. Education is the biggest thing, right? Don't be afraid to research what is depression, what is anxiety. Not everybody doesn't know everything, right? So if you're unsure of the definition of something, look it up, right? Just educate yourself on what mental wellness is. Again, have conversations. Just even as a parent or as a friend, just checking on your friend. Just, hey, how are you doing? Like, the world's rough right now. I think we all know that. And we can all acknowledge that 2025 isn't the best year, right? And it's okay to talk about that. It's okay to say, again, how are you doing? Like, how are you doing financially? How are you doing stress-wise? Like, how are you doing job-wise? Little conversations will lead and amount to more vulnerability and bigger conversations.
Awesome. When you were driving on your way over here, I know you sent me a few questions. I think we kind of sort of touched on all of them, but is there anything in your mind that you stood up and like, I hope he asked me this, or I hope we touch about this particular subject? Anything in mind?
I think it was about resources, right? I think just the general idea is that help is out there. Just start somewhere. I think that's my biggest push, or hope out of this conversation today, is that people can acknowledge that there is help out there for them. Whether you have insurance or money or not, like, there are things and programs in place to help support you.
I ran into this gentleman that, because I remember one of the conversations we had is that places, rehab centers and things like that don't have Spanish-speaking individuals or counselors. Excuse me, but I ran into this gentleman over Wednesday that knows a place that provides, and I'm going to put his information on the description of this, provides help in Spanish. And also counseling in Spanish, and he's saying certain phrases that I'm pretty sure they're related to you, but I don't understand what he's talking about. But related to the counseling type, certain ways of the things that he addressed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There are plenty of resources that are primary Spanish speaking. There aren't a whole lot of higher levels of care, like acute stabilization, hospitalization, but what they do have is interpreters. Right. So though a group may not be in primary Spanish, if we speak English and our parents don't, they're going to use an interpreter to help bridge that gap. And there are plenty of counseling practices, psychiatrists that are Spanish speaking. So again, don't let language become a barrier to access to care.
Yeah, and if you can shoot me some of those websites that you told me about, so I can put them also on the description. All right, we're running short on time. But before I let you go, all your social media, if you want people to follow you or not, where can they reach you at, or any other thing that you want to promote?
Yeah, no. So Instagram is Psyjack, PSYJAC. Created it in college, and I was studying psychology, and I was like, all right, Psy for psychology and my initials. So Psy Jack on Instagram if you want to follow and connect. And I'm always happy to connect and share resources. So if you are struggling with something and you don't have a direct number for me, by all means, reach out to me on Instagram. We'll give you resources that you need, or at least point you in the direction where you can get the help that you need. And then I'm going to shout out where I currently work. It's Mind Above Matter. We are a PHP IOP program in DFW with locations in Keller, Fort Worth, and a couple of school districts. We do free mental health assessments. So if you are struggling and you're unsure of what level of care you need, call us, get a free assessment. We'll let you know what level of care you need, and we'll point you in that direction.
All right. If you can shoot me that number, I'll be happy to plug it in also in the description. Saludos. Any saludos, shout outs that you have for anybody?
Shout outs to Kava Bar, right? It's been a great little community. I have been sober for about a little over 18 months now. And
congrats.
I think it's a really good community that we have there. And it's not just for people that are in recovery, right? I don't consider myself in recovery. I just consider myself being a sober person at the moment. And there are a lot of different individuals. And if you're wanting to take a break from alcohol, it's a great little place to hang out and just have time to socialize.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely need it. Is there an important lesson that you learn doing the work that you do that you would tell your younger self that will help somebody else out? What would that be as far as something that you like, man, I wish I would have known this lesson sooner so I can help more people out? What would that be?
That you're loved.
That you're loved.
Ask for help. Get rid of that mind block that you're going to be viewed differently. Just know that you have a support system.
Yeah, absolutely. Love is one of the only things that you can do when somebody's going through an addiction.
Yeah,
because, you know, they're ready for you to judge them. They're ready for you to point a finger. They're ready to you to combat them any other way. And when you don't, and you just be there, that's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, you don't have to be a mental health professional to be a support system to somebody. Just be there.
Yeah.
Even just to be a shoulder to cry on, right? Or to just hear them talk and let them vent. That's all it takes. It's just knowing that you have somebody in your corner, judgment free.
Absolutely. And do you feel, as far as being an advocate for mental health and spreading awareness about mental illnesses, you think it's your calling, or is there something else that you're still seeking for yourself?
No, I definitely think I foresee myself doing this type of work and advocacy for a very long time. I'm actually in the process of creating a nonprofit to help individuals, specifically Latinos, who are lacking resources and funds to get the help that they need. So I'm hoping to launch that next year. And so that is another side passion, but mental health advocacy and addiction recovery is definitely my passion.
Absolutely. Yeah. Usually throughout my days, or sometimes I say something along the lines of, I'm not immortal, I am mortal, and I will die one day. Not to scare me, terrorize me, or anything like that, or bad juju, but to It's a real thing in life, right? We're not here forever. We're definitely going to go one of these days. But with that, it helps me hurry up and do things. With that, I wish you a very long, prosperous life. After everything's said and done, what do you want people to think and feel about your life?
That they had a safe space, a judgment-free space, that regardless of how I may have lived my life and the mistakes that I have made in my life, right, that they could come to me in a judgment-free zone, and just know that they had somebody to count on, that I was somebody who was reliable for them.
Yeah, I see you in just in action in general, how kind you are to people, how willing to help people out, you know, that you barely maybe just started working with, and go out of your way to see how they are. Yeah. And that's pretty neat, because there's not a lot of people who are willing to do that just for people that they're just met. Yeah. Would you just to go see how they're doing and making sure that they're okay? And then just in general, the customers that I see you interaction without the $5, you still give them great service and just willing to listen to them. And that's neat to know, because again, Sometimes some people even go to the bars to talk to the bartender. Same thing for the car bartenders. A lot of times people go in there just to talk to somebody and express and vent and talk a little bit, and you're just there listening. It's amazing to see you work and to see you do the things that you do. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much. I'm going to get those $5 from you at the end of the day. No, but you know what? At the end of the day, I think we're all just trying to make it through this life, right? And if we could just be a little kinder to each other and hold a little space for each other, I think we'll be in a much better place.
And without a shadow of a doubt, Jesse, you are a Global Latin Factor. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
This was another episode of the Global Latin Factor podcast. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Why? You have nothing to lose and so much to gain. There's amazing stories, there's amazing resources of Latinos doing amazing work in the community, and they are found right here at the Global Latin Factor. So remember also that we are just like you. We are people. We are the spice and flavor in this melting pot that it is the world. Till next time. Bye.